Good morning, everyone from Eastern Canada and around the world that are joining us today for Bhagavad-gītā As It Is class with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And we are reading the original unedited Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, one of the great literary achievements of our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who is the bona fide spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession, coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a very important part of our program here with the Prabhupada Disciples Association, because there is a lot of chaos these days in spiritual life for want of a bona fide spiritual master. And so many people who are serious about spiritual life are being misled by various nefarious people. And their motivation is profit, adoration, and distinction. But the real goal of spiritual life is to become the humble servant of the pure devotee spiritual master. And if one can become connected to such a spiritual master, then their emancipation is guaranteed by the practice of that bhakti yoga. And so with the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we're directing all of the students of this process to the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. No one else. And in this way, we perform our humble service at his lotus feet. And we're very fortunate to have with us, presenting the classes, His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who is a senior Vaishnava in our line and a servant, has been a servant of His Divine Grace for over 55 years. And this is a great blessing for all of us. And we want to thank him for attending these programs every week without fail. And in this way, we're building a repertoire of information for all of us now and for people in the future that are looking for genuine spiritual understanding. And if you go to our Krishna Consciousness Movement YouTube page, you'll be able to look at the list of classes that have been given by this group. And they're subdivided into Bhagavad-gītā classes, Srimad Bhagavatam classes, and Chaitanya Charitamrita classes. So you can go to each category and make reference to them and enjoy the classes along with your daily practice of listening to Srila Prabhupada and his amazing lectures and get inspiration from him, and chanting your rounds, 16 rounds a day without fail, following the four regulated principles and adhering to the principles of spiritual life as given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So we're going to go now, as you know, and for the new people that are attending the class, we've been reading from the beginning, the 1966 New York Journal. And I believe we're at April 12th. Is that right, Vinkat?
I think we finished 12th and 13th last week.
Okay, so we finished, or last Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, everyone. April 14th, 1966, in New York City. Prabhupada's in the Bowery with Paul. Sunrise, 5:18 a.m., sunset, 6:44 p.m., moonrise, 3:12 a.m. Dasami, Elsie, paid $31.50 for books. Deposited with the bank, $36. Paid Paul for expenses, $1. Bus and subway fare, 60 cents. Expenditure, $37.60. And the net income was $31.50. So a very simple income and expense statement. But you noticed how astute Prabhupada was in watching how the Lakshmi was coming and going. Friday, April 15th, 1966. Back in time. Sunrise, 5:16 a.m., sunset, 6:45 p.m., moonrise, 3:39 a.m., Ekadasi. Books delivered to Elsie, 2 sets of books for sale in charge of Paul. Expenditures, bus fare, 60 cents. Mr. Anderson, assistant to governor, met. He is a little sympathetic. He says that I may expect some news from the Asia Society of New York. Yolanda will take me to ashram tomorrow at 2 p.m. The meeting was $4. Saturday, April 16th, 1966. Sunrise, 5:14 a.m., sunset, 5:46 p.m., moonrise, 4:01 a.m. Paid to Paul for expenditure, $2. Bus fare, $72.15. Dwadasi, $2.15. Took Yolanda took me to the ashram, and there was kirtan in the evening. Dwadasi. September 17th. That's it. April 1966. Sunrise, 5:13 a.m. Sunset, 6:47 p.m. Moonrise, 4:12 a.m. Today, up to 5 p.m., I was in the ashram. Came back at 6:15 p.m. to 72. Paul was there in the evening. I came back at Bowery with the suitcase. One book due to Elsie was delivered to her in the studio. Trio Dasi. Expenditure, bus fare, 30 cents. New expenditure paid to Paul, 50 cents. That's 80 cents. And the book sale was Trio Dasi. Do we have one more? 18th, did I send that? Yes. That's Monday, April 18th, 1966. Sunrise, 5:12 a.m. Sunset, 6:49. Moonrise, 3:49. Chaturdasi. Today I took delivery of passport. Up to the 9th of June, 1968. I wanted to see Mr. Bogart, but he was not there. I left one note for him. Expenditures. Paid Paul, $1. Bus fare, 30 cents. Postage, $1.10. That's $2.40. And the income was $2. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his efforts to spread the Krishna Consciousness movement back in April of 1966. Now we'll have the introduction to the class with the chant Jaya Radha Madhava and the presentation by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Haribol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yasodā-nandana Brajajana-rāṇjana Yasodā-nandana Brajajana-rāṇjana Jamuna-tira vanachari Jamuna-tira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodā-nandana Brajajana-rāṇjana Yasodā-nandana Brajajana-rāṇjana Yamuna-tira vanachari Yamuna-tira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Parivrajaga-ācārya Sattvareśvara Samāda Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāma-ācārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsādhi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Khanda Radha Khanda Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर समिति और ग्लोरी टू देयर समिति थैंक यू वेरी मच
ओम अज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगुणा रघुनाथं अन्वितं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादं सहगुणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Bhagavad-gītā As It Is. We will be reading from the original 1972 Macmillan edition, the non-edited, non-adulterated version. Today we'll be reading from chapter 9, text number 2, and continuing the reading of the purport. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 9, chapter 9, text 2, page 443. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram idamuttamam pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam susukam kartumavyayam. Raja Vidya, the king of education. Raja Guhyam, the king of confidential knowledge. Pavitram, the purest. Idam, this. Uttamam, transcendental. Pratyaksha, directly experience. Avagamam, understood. Dharmyam, the principle of religion. Susukam, very happy. Kartum, to execute. Avyayam, everlasting. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. We're continuing from the third paragraph on page 445. A person who has completely ended the reactions of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. For those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stock or in the form of a seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram Uttamam, the purest. Uttamam means transcendental. Tamas means this material world or darkness, and Uttamam means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material, although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service, however, will know that they're not material activities. They're all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In course of time, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing, but in trying to broadcast the message of devotional activities as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. In the Vedanta Sutra, this is also described in the following words: Prakashascha karmani abhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. Narada, who happened to be the son of a maidservant, had no education, nor was he born in a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narada also became engaged. And sometimes, in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotees himself. Narada personally says, once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. Bhagavatam 1.5.25. Narada tells his disciple Vyasadeva that in a previous life, he was engaged as a boy servant of purified devotees during 4 months of their stay, and that he was intimately associating with them. Sometimes those sages left remnants of food on their dishes, and the boy who would wash their dishes wanted to taste the remnants. So he asked the great devotees whether he could eat them, and they gave their permission. Narada then ate those remnants and consequently became freed from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages, and he gradually developed the same tastes. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service of the Lord, hearing, chanting, etc. And by developing the same taste, Narada wanted also to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Thus, by associating with the sages, he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, he quotes from the Vedanta Sutra, Prakashascha karmani abhyasat. If one is engaged simply in the acts of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand. This is called prakashaha, directly perceived. Narada was actually a son of a maidservant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity, and simply by association, achieved the highest goal of all religions, devotional service. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of the stage of devotional service. Generally, Vedic knowledge is required for the understanding of the path of self-realization. But here, although he was not educated in the Vedic principle, Narada acquired the highest results of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in the Vedic literatures. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who is in association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has not studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam. He's ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what. Even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person, regardless of social position, and can be offered by it and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history. Simply by tasting the tulasi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional process is very nice, and it can be executed in a happy mood. God accepts only love, with which things are offered to him. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. It is not as the Mayavadi philosophers claim. They sometimes take to so-called devotional service, and as long as they are not liberated, they continue their devotional service, but at the end, when they become liberated, they become one with God. Such temporary time-serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord. As it will be seen, actual devotional service begins after liberation. So in Bhagavad-gītā it is said, Brahma Bhuta. After being liberated or being situated in the Brahman position, one's devotional service begins. By executing devotional service, one can understand the Supreme Lord. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing Karma Yoga, Jnana or Ashtanga Yoga, or any other yoga independently. Without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā from realized souls, then he can understand the science of Krishna or the science of God. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully, without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Bhagavad-vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadana Stridam Danteridam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Sri Rup Sri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatham. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we see that Srila Prabhupada is describing very nicely the process of devotional service. We saw last week discussion of various forms of karma. Srila Prabhupada explains, in the Padma Purana, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then it flowers, bears fruits, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by persons who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the result or the fruit of that sinful action are still enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruit, which we are enjoying as distress and pain, as explained in the 20th verse of the 7th chapter. Now, Prabhupada continues there and explained that when one finishes all the reactions of sinful activities, one can become engaged in devotional service. Now, this is a very important point, because we see in chapter 7 of Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 7, text 28, how Lord Krishna describes Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam tedvanva mohanir mukta bhajanti mam drida vrataha. Person who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Now, why is this so important? Now, everyone knows when people become initiated, they make a promise to follow 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no fish, no eggs, no gambling, no mental speculation, no illicit sex life, and no intoxication. Why do we do that? It's to clear up the sinful activities, to stop the sinful activities so that one can become eligible to render proper devotional service. That commitment to the spiritual master is important. It is not just a wishful thing that one can say, well, I've accepted Prabhupada in my head and the whim and in my mind. Well, that's nice. That's good. You do that. But one should strive to make a serious commitment and accept the bona fide Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. This is from the Chandogya Upanishad. Srila Prabhupada used to often quote that one should take shelter of the Acharyas. One should follow the bona fide Acharyas. And by doing that, one will understand what is fact and what is not. And this is what Krishna is revealing in this verse. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. That this knowledge is the king of education. So many times we have heard Srila Prabhupada in various lectures and in his books explain how there are many educational institutions all over the world for the sake of the body, to improve the body and the mental condition. So this is very good. They have big education. Some of them are very expensive with prestigious names where the people will study for so many years. They will get various degrees, master degrees, PhDs, advanced studies. But Prabhupada used to raise the point frequently. Where is that educational institution to study the science of the soul? Where is that? No one has that. Prabhupada started his society to provide the study of the science of the soul, to understand the difference between the body and the soul. And then to understand the difference between the individual soul and the supreme soul, the Jivatma and the Paramatma. Then once one understands this, one should engage in the practice of yoga, bhakti yoga. Now, there are many types of yogas that we know. The yoga that we are practicing is called bhakti, the yoga of devotion, devotional service. Prabhupada describes unalloyed devotional service. What is unalloyed? Just like if you have gold, there's different qualities of purity of gold. 10 karat, 14 karat, 18 karat, 22 karat, and pure gold. If you take a coin that is pure gold, it is malleable. You can bend it. When the gold is mixed, when it is alloyed with various other metals, then it becomes a little harder. It does not bend. So that pure devotion, just like it is described by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Then one should engage in devotional service which is free from mental speculation and speculative activity, fruitive activity. So that kind of bhakti, uttama, is considered bhakti. And the beginning is to get rid of all these upadis, designations. Just like the other day, some relative sent me some video of people arguing about the position of women, the position of men, and this and that. And I replied to this relative, this is simply a waste of time. What they're doing here is called sochati kankshati. They're hankering and they're lamenting. They're hankering for some sense gratification. When the sense gratification is not fulfilled, then they lament, sochati. He says that is not the solution. Bhakti begins, sarva upadi vinirmuktam, that one becomes free from all these designations. That I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm intelligent, I'm not intelligent, I'm American, Canadian, Polish, Mongolian, Japanese, Russian. This is all artificial designation which has nothing to do with our position as an eternal spirit soul. The Jivatma, the eternal soul within the body, is eternal. It does not die. What we have is a body that we have acquired on account of previous karma, purva karma. Now, this is very important to understand because most people think karma, well, I'll just get a reaction for some action. But they don't understand that this current body is a result of prior action in a previous life. Karanam guna sangasya sadasat yoni janmasu. Why is it that we see good and bad situation, auspicious and inauspicious situation? Some people are born very beautiful, some not so beautiful, some completely ugly. Some people are born not very intelligent, like in my case. Some people are born fairly intelligent, and some other people are geniuses, complete geniuses. Some people are born in a very wealthy family. Some people are born in a very poor family. But people who have bewildered by the influence of Maya or illusion, they think, oh, it's all by chance. It just happens by chance. It's not by chance. Prabhupada used to give this example, that everything has a cause. Your education didn't come by chance. Your car was not built by chance. Your house did not build by chance. So why do they conclude that everything is by chance? Because they're bewildered by Maya. This is the problem. This is the big problem, the influence of Maya. So this process here that we have, as Srila Prabhupada describes, Prabhupada says, one who can see and is familiar with devotional service, however, will know that they are not material. He's referring to devotional activity. They're not material activities. They're all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. Interestingly, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj quotes from the Padma Purana, where he describes that the name of Krishna, Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukta, is eternally pure, never contaminated, and always freed from the influence of the material energy. Well, why is that? Abhinatvam Nama Naminoho, that the name of Krishna, Nama, is not different than Nami. Nami means the name Krishna is not different than the person Krishna. And in order to realize this, one has to chant under the guidance of the Acharya, of a bona fide, authorized, self-realized Maha Bhagavata Uttamacharya. Now, some people will protest. Oh, Prabhupada says you should get a living person. Oh, yeah, there's plenty of living persons. You have to find the right one, as described by Srila Prabhupada. We see in Prabhupada's books, there's so many points which are very made. There's so many different statements. What is the aim of all these statements? Srila Prabhupada was once asked by one of his very senior disciples that, what is the most important thing of everything you have said, you have taught? And Prabhupada quoted that verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyate Kachtaryartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. For those who have firm faith in the Acharya and Krishna, all the meaning of the Vedic literatures is revealed. Everything is transcendently revealed. Now, this is important because our process is also a process of practice and also a process of revelation. Krishna can reveal himself at any time to anyone he wants, because we do not know what a practitioner has done in his past life. In the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is described that in order to take to devotional service in this life, one must have done it in a past life. It is a continuation of activities which took place in a previous life. So in this life, one should make progress to become free from the influence of Maya. Because the problem we have is the introduction of mental speculation to concoct, to fabricate interpretations which are not given or authorized by the Acharya, by the bona fide authorized Acharya. That is a big difficulty, because we see many devotees follow the principles or seem to follow the principles, and then they get involved in problems. We see in the Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami is describing how this prajalpa niyamagraha, these are destructive to the growth of bhakti. Prajalpa means gossip. So it is important to basically understand things from the authority of the Acharya and to use the intelligence to properly sort out the instruction of the Acharya to get a clear understanding, a crystal clear understanding. Just like here, we live in the mountains here in California. Now, at certain elevations above sea level, there is snow in the winter. In the spring, the snow melts, and then there's a lot of snow higher up, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 feet above sea level, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 meters above sea level. When that snow is melted, there's a lot of accumulation in the rivers, the streams, the ponds. Now, if you have a pond and there's mud in the water, if you mix the mud with the water, you're not going to be very clear. But if the water is filtered, if everything is clear, then one can see very carefully. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives in his Shikshastakam, Chetu Darpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvapanam, that this Samkirtan, this chanting of Hare Krishna, this is the method, the essential method of devotional service. A very important point. There is one letter, devotees ask Srila Prabhupada, is deity worship more important than chanting Hare Krishna? Prabhupada says all are important, but the chanting of Hare Krishna is always the most important. This is very important, to learn to chant without offenses. And that speculation problem, mental speculation, mental concoction, mental fabrication, fabricating different interpretations. Just yesterday, one devotee from Europe sent me some conversation which took place between two devotees like 45 years ago. And one devotee was interpreting, oh, Prabhupada said that when you'll be guru, this and that. And I'm looking at the actual conversation, and Prabhupada didn't say any such thing. The actual text of the conversation, the direct, specific conversation, did not match with the interpretation of that devotee. Again, mental speculation, fabrication, concoction. So this is very important. Very important. Prabhupada complained how some of his godbrothers had neglecting the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, neglecting the holy name of the Lord. That's why they did not have the potency to spread the holy name all around the world. Prabhupada was especially empowered. He had been predicted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, by Nityananda Prabhu, by great acharyas, by Lochandas Thakur, so many devotees. So many great acharyas predicted. Bhaktivedanta Thakur predicted. But who brought it? Who actually fulfilled that prediction? Who actually fulfilled that prediction? That person is none other than Srila Prabhupada. I notice as I'm speaking here that various questions have popped up. Now, I can't answer questions while trying to explain the text or making general comments, but we will try to deal with these various issues. There seem to be so many people in the chat here. I've dealt with one of the issues of mental speculation, and we will deal with some of these other questions as the program goes on. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your brief explanation of this very important verse in the Bhagavad-gītā dealing with the king of knowledge, which is that The true understanding of knowledge is to realize that we are the eternal servants of Krishna and not these mundane bodies. And in our particular sampradaya, we do have some examples of devotees in the ISKCON movement that achieved emancipation at the time of death. And we should follow in the footsteps of such devotees who set the highest level of example. I'm referring, first of all, to Jayananda Prabhu, who was a very humble devotee, servant of Srila Prabhupada's, and very much devoid of self-aggrandizement. And when you read about his pastimes, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and I know you had association with him, he exemplified the humility of the servant of the spiritual master. In other words, he understood who Srila Prabhupada was. This is a blessing for him to get this deep realization of the opportunity to serve the spiritual master, who is bona fide. This opportunity to serve the bona fide spiritual master is the key to liberation from this material world. This is called Guru Tattva, proper understanding. And we had the good fortune to speak to him on a few occasions before he passed away when I was in Toronto, and it was very inspiring to see such a great soul, so humble and so sincere, without any contamination of personal ambition. This is the key to Krishna consciousness advancement. And it is difficult. Some people, they can't help themselves in their path of spiritual practice to make mistakes like this that are because of previous contamination and upbringing. And they must work very diligently on their spiritual process to overcome these inarthas, these things, these, how can I say, weeds that are in the creeper, surrounding the creeper of devotional service. So this following in the footsteps of Jayananda Prabhu, which is one of the principles of the Prabhupada Disciples Association, is very important for us to understand. Because a lot of times, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, people become enamored with material success. They also become enamored with material education. And they think that these opulences that they have on the material platform have something to do with spiritual advancement, and it doesn't. The secret of success is to always remain in the position as a humble servant of the servant of the Lord. This is key to making advancement. And I know some of you are on this call, have been devotees for many, many years. And because of that experience, you've seen the good and bad and the ugly that goes on in the community of Vaishnavas. How some people become contaminated with this disease, and it has to be eliminated. We had such beautiful association. When I was in Toronto, there was a wonderful devotee that was with us, as you know, him, Yaśodā, Murli Krishna. Murli Krishna from Buffalo. And he demonstrated the qualities of Jayananda for us in the Toronto temple, because every day he got up and he took the devotional service with extreme enthusiasm, without any fault-finding tendencies in his character. This was the beauty of Murli Krishna. I still remember him so wonderfully chanting every day the big kirtan back and forth in front of Radha Kirchor Gopinath, dancing and singing so purely without any personal motive. And it was always inspiring for all of us to be a part of that association. And just finally, it was mentioned here today about the remnants of prasadam, and from the great saints and sages. And Prabhupada's remnants were very valuable to all the devotees. And a lot of times they became objects of that could not be received by ordinary devotees. We were in Mayapur at the temple presidents and the Mayapur festival and the temple presidents meetings, and it was by chance that we couldn't get any of Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam. It was very, very difficult. And all of us wanted to have some remnants, but we couldn't get it because guess who was taking all the prasadam? The GBC. And my friend Udama Shloka said GBC we devised a plan to steal Prabhupada's prasadam from the kitchen after it was offered. And we went up on the balcony of the Mayapur temple, and I stood watch to make sure that Bhavananda and some of the other devotees didn't come down and take the prasadam right away from the kitchen. And then Udama Shloka went up to the kitchen pujari and lied to him. Oh, I came here to pick up the prasadam and distribute it back to the devotees. In a sense, he lied, but not really. And so he took the prasadam, the entire plate of prasadam, and we ran off the second floor out into the middle of the field. And there was a devotee standing on the staircase, and he caught us in the act. So we said to him, I told him, I said, come along, join us. And we went out into the middle of the field where there was a bush, and we had the entire plate of Mahaprasadam. And Udama Shloka, myself, and this devotee we invited along ate all of the prasadam, and it caused a great uproar amongst the GBC. And then we told them, GBC, not for me. So this is the mercy of the pure devotee, is to get his prasadam in the form of his literatures. And if you're fortunate enough to get his remnants, this is Krishna's blessing on you. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
I think there's a very interesting question from Nityananda Prabhu. He says,
Okay.
Very nice verse and purport by Srila Prabhupada about Sri Narada Muni. In this regard, please comment upon the prasadam served at temples. Also for devotees at home, and as we know, most bewildered devotees offer bhoga to a self-appointed, voted-in gurus. What happens to the devotees who take that foodstuff? Is it still considered as prasadam? Also, please comment on what about foodstuff that devotees consume that are not prepared by devotees, meaning devotees eating takeouts. Well, as a principle, Prabhupada in the beginning in 1966, he requested that devotees should only accept foodstuff that had been offered to the deity as prasadam. He did not recommend and did not accept eating out or going to restaurants or things like that. There's a reason for that. And one of the reasons, if you take foodstuff, especially food grains, that have been cooked by somebody who doesn't follow these principles, you are absorbing some of his karma, some of his negative vikarma. So you only want to take foodstuff that has been offered to the deity. Now, having said all that, they will say that, well, Prabhupada said in 1976 that he wanted a condensed portion, 20-page or 30-page portion of Hare Bhakti-Vilas to summarize the process of devotional service, and we've just followed that and introduced the process that Hare Bhakti-Vilas recommended. Well, here's the problem with that argument, is that Srila Prabhupada himself never gave any direction to change the method and process of offering the bhoga. Let me just read from a statement by Srila Prabhupada. This is a letter from Srila Prabhupada on May 15th, 1970. May 15th, 1970, Srila Prabhupada says, so Krishna, when he's with his brother and sister, is Jagannath. And when he's with his village girlfriends, that is Radha Krishna with gopis. So whomever you worship is the same. But if you like to worship Jagannath, you can continue it. And it is as good as worshiping Radha Krishna. Krishna has so many forms, and whichever form you worship, it is all the same. But you should worship that form which you like most. Regarding the means of worship, our Vaishnava process is first offer respects to the spiritual master, then Lord Chaitanya, and then Lord Krishna. Vyasa is the spiritual master, therefore the spiritual master is the representative of Vyasa. Therefore, the spiritual master's seat is called Vyas Asana. Now, this is a very important point, because we see that Srila Prabhupada also has explained in other letters, trying to get here, there's another letter that Prabhupada says, this was a lecture by Prabhupada in Gorakhpur, India on February 15th, 1971. February 15, 1971. Srila Prabhupada, not a special plate. The process is that whatever we offer to the deity, that is offered to Guru. And Guru offers to his Guru. In this way goes to Krishna. We don't directly offer to Radha Krishna. No, we have no right. Neither he accepts in that way. The pictures of the Acharyas, why there are, actually one has to offer the plate to his Guru, and he'll offer to his Guru, he offers his Guru, his Guru. In this way, it will go to Krishna. That is the process. You cannot directly approach Krishna or other subordinates to Krishna. That is not possible. Very important point. Prabhupada says another conversation that this one, September 5th, 1973 in London, England. September 5th, 1973. Please, Radharani. Radharani is presented the original pleasure potency, always absorbed in thought of Krishna. So anyone who comes before Radharani to serve Krishna, oh, she becomes so pleased. Oh, here's a devotee of Krishna. She immediately recommends, Krishna, oh, here's a devotee is better than me. This is Radharani. I may be not devotee. I may be the most fallen rascal. But if I try to reach Krishna through Radharani, then my business is successful. Therefore, we should worship Radharani first. That is our business. Instead of offering directly one flower to Krishna, you just put it in the hands of Radharani, my mother Radharani, Jagan Mata. If you kindly take this flower and offer it to Krishna, oh, Radharani says, oh, you have brought a flower. Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati, Bhagavad-gītā 9:26. But don't try to offer Krishna directly. Just offer through Radharani. It will be very much appreciated by Radharani. So this is our philosophy, to please Krishna through Radharani. And just today is the auspicious day of Radharani's appearance. So this is, in other words, Srila Prabhupada is basically indicating the process of offering prasadam, there's a systematic process that he introduced in his society. That was changed after his departure. Now, whether or not what they're offering is actually prasadam or not, that is left up to debate, especially because many of the cooks that I've seen in some places, the cooks are not initiated brahmanas, and many of them may not be chanting 16 rounds, and it creates a problem. Prabhupada gave specific instruction that whatever is supposed to be offered to the deity has to be cooked by second initiated Brahmins. This is the system Prabhupada established. And the process is just what we read. Now, this other idea that they have, that it says in some other sampradayas or some other mat or some other book that you can offer directly to Krishna, that is their choice. But Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, never introduced that. That is not accurate to say that Prabhupada changed the whole system. There is no record of Srila Prabhupada ever changing the bona fide system that he had introduced in his society for his students, his followers, and disciples. Very important point. As far as devotees who basically offer foodstuff to some of these people, well, one day they may be there, the other day they may not. It's like people may know who know a little bit of the history. There are people who've got 3 and 4 initiations on the plea of this idea called the LGEP, the Living Guru Experimental Project. One living guru comes, another living guru goes, they take initiation, another one, without properly understanding what the initiation is. So this is very important. People should offer their foodstuff to Srila Prabhupada in the specific method that has been described by Srila Prabhupada. 3 times Namo Vishnu Padaya, 3 times Namaste Saraswati Devi, 3 times Namo Mahabhadanyaya, 3 times Namo Brahmanyadaya Devaya. This is the standard that Srila Prabhupada gave. Very important point. Because if one does not follow the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, what is he eating? What is he eating? So, again, the problem is mental speculation. It is a completely speculative idea that Prabhupada changed the whole system that he had introduced in his society. It is not accurate. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Vinkat Prabhu, some questions are coming up on the chat, and I see someone has his hand up as well. Can you pick out a question from the chat that hasn't been answered yet? We'll see what we can do with our community here to give some response.
Okay. So Nityananda Prabhu is asking another question, and he also has his hand raised. Maybe he wants to just ask the question. Go ahead.
Okay.
Prabhu.
Go ahead, Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for that answer. It is very, very well answered. I appreciate that. So another thing, just in regards to the prasadam, when we read the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna also says that one can offer, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, some water. So can you just explain that for devotees that are beginning in Krishna consciousness? I think it's very important that they understand that Pashpam Pulam Toyam. So that verse is very important as well. You can just comment just for the new devotees.
There is a lecture by Srila Prabhupada on this topic where Prabhupada says even the poorest man in any part of the world can offer Krishna a tulsi leaf, some water, some fruits, very simple. In one place it says if you don't have tulsi leaf, you can just offer some leaf,
Yes.
some fresh leaf. In other words, what's important is the devotion. Prabhupada's point is bring that devotion in your heart and offer it to Krishna. That is the point. That is the bhakti. That is what he is emphasizing. It is not a ritualistic process or a smarta process or a karmakanda process. Now, there are specific instructions given in the Shastra as one advances a little bit more, just like we described how Prabhupada wanted the bhoga to be offered so it becomes prasada. But for new people, it's like, for example, if somebody has a wife and kids, he has a job, he has to go out, he doesn't have all time, all day, he's got to work and he's got to commute. He may not have the time to do elaborate offerings in it, but he can offer some water, or his wife can offer some water, some incense, offer some fruit. One thing is I've seen in one temple, they were offering a basket of fruits with all the stickers on it. Now, these stickers are not very pure. Take them out, wash them. Try, make the effort, clean the fruit, the banana, the apple, everything. It's like yesterday. We were preparing for fire sacrifice. And I'm preparing the yajna kunda, and I'm preparing all the fruits, washing the fruit, taking the little stickers out, assembling the fruits near the yajna kunda. That's something else. But the point is, with love and devotion, anybody can offer something. Even if one doesn't have a whole lot of money, everybody can get some water. Everybody can find a piece of fruit, or cooking. A person can cook, offer the rice, offer some vegetable, no meat, fish, or eggs, and no onions or garlic. Vaishnavas do not accept. That is not Vaishnav Bhojan. Krishna will not accept foodstuff that is offered with onions or garlic. Now, the question may come, well, if I don't have a tulsi plant, what do I do? Prajumna one time told me that in the Hari Bhakti Vilas is described, if there is no tulsi leaves available, take the name of tulsi. Just like we have that mantra, Vrindai Tulasi Divyai, Priyai Keshavasya Cha, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatya Namo Namaha. We offer obeisances to Tulsi because she is the gateway. Bhakti Devi and Tulsi Devi, they're the gateway of devotion to Krishna. So any devotee, even in the beginning, you offer obeisance to Tulsi. So like that, simple, a person can offer, then whatever food stuff we take. Now this point, another point about taking food stuff outside. Let me tell a little story. In 1970, when Srila Prabhupada went to India, there was no temples in India. People were living in dharmshalas or in some life member's house. There was no facilities. Not much cooking facilities either. So Prabhupada had to take a train ride from Delhi to Calcutta. And devotees did not cook prasadam. So the train, for those who are familiar in India with train stations, you go and sometimes they will have these puriwalas. They will cook some fresh puris and they have a little cup of aloo, of potatoes with some spices. It's not a big feast, but it'll keep you alive. So Prabhupada took some rupees out of his pocket and he gave it, and he got some puris and potatoes. And one of Prabhupada's servants, Prabhupada, this is not prasadam, this is not prasadam. And Prabhupada told him, do you think I'm such a fool that I will starve because you forgot to cook? So there has to be an intelligent, practical thing. That devotees should use their intelligence to follow Prabhupada's instruction in a practical way. But generally, we should not eat food stuff cooked by non-devotees. Those who are not Vaishnavas, best not, because the karma, you will get karma from that. It's just like Prabhupada, when we were in Calcutta in 71, there was a big pandal in South Calcutta. And all these Bengali widows would line up after the program trying to touch the brahmacharis and sannyadis' feet. And Prabhupada says, don't let them touch your feet. Because if they touch your feet, you're taking all their karma. Prabhupada says, if they touch your feet, you put your hand and put it on their head. You're returning their karma. So there are many implications. When you eat food stuff that is cooked, especially grains that are cooked by non-devotees, you're taking their karma. That's why it's not recommended to accept food stuff that is cooked by non-devotees. Then there was another question by Nityananda Prabhu about accepting. Prabhupada mentioned one should not just accept a guru in his mind and his heart, but has to be done practically. And he says one must be initiated in the process left by the Acharya, which, as we know, is the initiation via the Ritvik Acharya process of initiation. Please, can you clarify what is the qualification of a Ritvik Acharya, and can anyone become a Ritvik Acharya? Well, basically, judging from Prabhupada, devotees who were following the principles, chanting their rounds, and engaging in preaching activities for the mission in 1977, senior men were chosen by Srila Prabhupada. That's a well-established fact. As far as the same qualifications, if somebody chants and follows, one can technically do, basically, it's basically a service. It is not a position. It is not that one can claim this is my zone, my this, my that. That's another big nonsense that was introduced in 1978. My zone, my temple, my disciple, my money, my this. This was best summarized by a guru in London, England. He says, it's my temple, my money, my disciples, and I can do whatever I want with it. Well, welcome to false ego. Thank you. False ego and steroids. Basically, the point is to give people the chance to become followers and students of Srila Prabhupada, following the discipline, becoming a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, getting absorbed in a divyam jnanam given by Srila Prabhupada, and the function of a ritvik or representative is just to facilitate that process. Now, one thing I've seen is some people who claim to follow this system, some of them are very fond of sitting on Vyasasana and getting their feet washed.
Yes.
Now, if somebody feels that they're a Mahabhagavat, or if they're actually a Mahabhagavat, then there probably is no objection. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 24, text 330, there's a specific injunction that only a Mahabhagavat can take that position. It is not so cheap. We worship the Guru as good as God because he's a topmost Mahabhagavat. Now, somebody may not be a topmost Mahabhagavat, may be following strictly, giving relevant instruction and preaching. So in that case, we could say somebody could be. But then there's the institutional issue that people say, well, so-and-so has not been authorized by the GBC of ISKCON. Well, the GBC of ISKCON has already rejected Prabhupada's instruction. They've already disobeyed Prabhupada's order, so they'll not accept that. We follow that, and basically that's the process. I hope it helps.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. So just regarding that, so how does the devotees that are aspiring now for this initiation, because there are many groups around or institutions or societies that are giving Ritvik initiation. And as you mentioned now, some of them sit on Vyasasans and get their feet washed, which is obviously not authorized. It's not the procedure. So how do we tell these devotees and share with them that this is not the process, and that this process of Ritvik initiation should be by a person who is in full faith of Srila Prabhupada and is following accordingly? He is of a higher standard and should be regarded as a senior devotee, not only by the knowledge of what he has, but by his actions and the way he conducts himself. That's most important. So if you can comment on that, please.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada explains the process of initiation. And he says that when people follow for 6 months to a year, then they're recommended by one of the representatives. And in Prabhupada's time, it was the temple presidents who observed the candidates, would train them, would engage them in Samkirtan, and then would recommend them to be initiated. That was the process. For second initiation, Prabhupada recommended they should follow at least for a year, be more fixed up, and no falls on at least for a year, because there had been situations where people had been initiated as Brahmins for convenience, just to get somebody in the kitchen or the pujari room, and Prabhupada did not want that. He wanted people to be properly trained. As a matter of fact, by 1976, he wanted to introduce examination, Brahminical examinations for devotees to be also learned in the scriptures, not just to follow, but to learn the scriptures, his books, like that. So the process of initiation, there was a qualification process. People should follow at least for 6 months to a year, chant the round, follow in Sanskrit, the technical term is called Purashcharya. But the chanting of the holy name of Krishna does not depend upon initiation. Like in the Padyavali of Rupa Goswami cites a verse, na diksham na purashcharyam. In other words, that the diksha, the official diksha, does not depend upon initiation ceremony. Anybody can chant Hare Krishna anytime and get the benefit. The diksha is meant to make that commitment to follow the acharya, to make progressive spiritual advancement. That's the meaning. And Prabhupada has made many statements, sometimes that it's a formality, other times it's not a formality. Prabhupada said one time, your determination to follow the principles, that is the real initiation. Another time, Prabhupada said the initiation ceremony is important for devotees to make the commitment. So there's a lot of different statements by Srila Prabhupada regarding the meaning of initiation, the process, the preparation. But it is important. Prabhupada did factually introduce the process, and devotees should follow. Now, our group, Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we do have an internal Brahminical board where we discuss these issues, And if anybody wants to be, we recommend them to come to our classes at least for 6 months. They have to get a recommendation from a devotee who is fairly fixed up. And then they have to pass a little test that Prabhupada gave in 1969. It's a very simple Bhakti Shastri test of about 12, 15 questions. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated, like who's Krishna and what's the difference between faith and religion. This was very simple compared to the more advanced test that Prabhupada was envisioning by 1976. But the process, we follow a process so that devotees who are serious, they want to make that commitment. We also do the same for second initiation. We have examination like that. Because the point is, we don't want to make the initiation process a farce.
Yes.
We don't want to make it like it becomes a complete farce. Just like I know of one devotee, and I'm not going to name the name of the country or where or the name, but a lot of people have sprung up giving initiations, and nobody knows what process they follow, what sorting process, whether or not the people are really qualified. And unfortunately, a lot of time after 6 months, 8 months, a year later, the people are either not following or bewildered or not. So there's a certain process that Srila Prabhupada recommended, and we follow that process, or we try the best we can to follow that process and move things forward. Now, Vishwakarma might like to comment on that because he was the temple president and he got many people initiated. And what was the process during Prabhupada's time?
Thank you.
Just briefly, and then we'll carry on because we're coming to the end of the class. But Nityananda Prabhu, really initiation comes from the heart of the candidate, that they feel a genuine connection with Srila Prabhupada as their guru, and they're prepared to surrender their life to his service, because that's a commitment that you make. And then this initiation is a formality, really. Prabhupada, as you know, explained it like that, because what is initiation? It means to begin. You're initiating, you're starting into the process of devotional service under the guidance of the pure devotee. And Prabhupada has given us those different rules and regulations to follow. And when you make that commitment and you follow those instructions and you carry on throughout your life, then by the grace of the pure devotee, you can make some advancement in Krishna consciousness. So it's really the commitment of the individual, not the recommendation by the person. It really is that. And unfortunately, if one is qualified like this to take up the process and practice it, then they're blessed by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So it's a transcendental relationship between Prabhupada and the individual. And this position of the president, when I was the president of the Toronto Temple for 10 years, I studied different people because there was rules that you followed. Like, for example, did you get up for Mangal Arti? That was important.
Basic.
Did you participate in this devotional service that you were given? How did you take it up? Were you enthusiastic, or was it always a problem for you to do your service? And like that, you were able to monitor them. And when you saw people that were qualified by their personal behavior, then they became qualified to be recommended to Prabhupada, and then he would accept it. And then the person, again, it is a formality, but there is a formal initiation. And that's what we're introducing here. And you're asking the question about other groups. Yes, there are lots of groups carrying on with this system, but that's up to each individual that's sincere about this process to make a decision. What group is qualified? What group of Vaishnavas are really the kind of group that you want to be a part of? And we're encouraging everyone to recommend the Prabhupada Disciples Association to those people so that they can come forward and be part of our group and learn this process from Prabhupada's the senior disciples and new disciples, and at the same time make genuine advancement in Krishna consciousness. And we're seeing it happen right before our eyes with the people that we're bringing into this group to be initiated disciples, that they have the genuine qualities of a potential devotee to take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya and carry it on even after our departure. That's the point. We're looking for people that will take this flag, this torch of knowledge with them and lead this movement moving forward into the future. Otherwise, what do? There's another group here, everyone, on the Facebook media called Prabhupada Disciples Association, I think, or something like that. Srila Prabhupada. It's different than ours. And someone put in a request from England, a friend of ours, that he wanted to become a member of this group, and they rejected him. No. And I know this person has been following Krishna consciousness since the 70s. And he missed the initiation from Prabhupada due to circumstance, but he's still been committed all his life to Krishna's service and to Prabhupada's mission. And they rejected him because he wasn't initiated by Prabhupada. And therefore, my question to them is, what happens when you all die? Who's going to be a Prabhupada disciple? Is it going to be a Jayapataka disciple? Is it going to be a Radhanath disciple? Is it going to be a Bhakti Charu disciple? Is it going to be a Kirtananda disciple? I just saw a picture that Abhimanyu Yaśodā just brought to me of a picture of Kirtananda's Samadhi tomb in Vrindavan, India. Is that who you're going to follow? This is a complete chaos, Nityananda. Chaos like Prabhupada predicted after his departure. Yes, Vinkat Prabhu, I see you have your hand up.
I just wanted to bring up this question by a new attendee here, Mangal Krishna Prabhu. So he had a question. Maybe we can just give a quick answer to him.
Sure.
So the question is, there are many followers of Srila Prabhupada who are following 4 regular principles and chanting minimum 16 rounds, but unable to do practical service due to age, health, financial, or social restrictions. What was the mood of Srila Prabhupada for the above type of disciples? Kindly guide. That's the question.
Maybe we can get Janis Priya in Hawaii. Janis Priya, are you still on the call with us? I hope. He's a Prabhupada disciple, and I think he might be able to share some insight into this question.
The question one more time, please.
So the question was, there are many devotees who are following the principles, chanting 4 regular principles, 16 rounds, but they're not able to do any practical service due to so many circumstances. So what was Srila Prabhupada's mood for the above types of disciples?
Well, one has to, it doesn't matter what shape or condition or social or anything, one has to try to his very, very best ability to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and to perform devotional service. Now, somebody could be very sick, but he could still, within his mind, we could create the nicest offering to Krishna if you cannot cook. That's the story of the Brahmana cooking the rice and burn his finger. This is reality. We could also create a temple in our mind and serve that way. Or practically, we need to do just our very, very best effort. It's not that if somebody is not able, maybe it's because they're just lazy, maybe they're not following properly, therefore they don't have the initiative to perform devotional service. So that's why it's so important for everybody to listen to the pure devotee. When we listen to the pure devotee, then we become enlightened. Why? Because his message, it goes right to our heart. And we don't need to speculate, like as we mentioned in this class. One should not speculate, simply follow what Prabhupada gave us. He said, I've given you enough. So basically, one has to try to the best of his ability. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And we have Dr. Rob. Oh, excuse me. Yes, Yaśodā Prabhu.
I just want to relate a letter that Prabhupada wrote in the mid-1970s, where some devotee asked Prabhupada about big devotees. And Prabhupada says, there is no such thing as big or small devotees in our movement. They're all devotees. Another time, a reporter, somebody asked Prabhupada, what about the big devotees in this movement? And Prabhupada's reply says, I'm the only big devotee in this movement. In other words, for you, your question is a very important point. Whether one is able to be engaged full-time in the temple or one lives with his family, with wife and children, that is something else. The point is to chant Hare Krishna, offer your foodstuff to Krishna, worship Tulsi, if you can get a Tulsi plant or a picture of Tulsi, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and basically take a picture of Prabhupada and Panchatattva, and this way your whole life will be revolving around this process. It's not a very complicated process. It's actually very simple. So if somebody is not able to, due to whatever circumstances or whatever, just do whatever you can. Put a picture of Prabhupada and Panchatattva, create a little altar, whatever you eat, you offer to Prabhupada and Krishna. Get a Bhagavatam or get some tape, or you can look on YouTube, lectures by Srila Prabhupada. There's a very nice website called causelessmercy.com, where they've got all kinds of lectures of Srila Prabhupada, 179 bhajans, japa tapes, so many things for free. There's no cost. If somebody is serious, there's always things available. There is always association and everything is available. There's always service. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Rob had a question.
We have Dr. Rob. Dr. Rob, where are you? I don't know which Rob you are. We have a few.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
we do.
Robin, I was already on this call once. I'm calling from Germany.
Oh, okay. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
I just wanted to speak some personal words to Venkat Prabhu, because we were following the same online program. So he also came from online preaching, I think, back in the days.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so I think it's very nice that you're the first devotee that I know that came from online preaching that is taking Ritvik initiation. On this call, there's also Bhakta Peter. He also came from this same program.
Yes.
And I convinced him like around 10 years ago that Prabhupada is the guru, you know. So, but
Thank you very much.
You know, I've been preaching this message since 2012, but you know,
Okay.
it's like very difficult. Most devotees don't get it. Like every Muslim understands, you know, that there's only one God and Muhammad is his representative, but the Krishna devotees can't get it. So it's really encouraging what's going on here. And you know, I download every of your classes, and then I usually listen online. But today, you know, one of my friends he canceled our appointment, so I was ready. I was lucky that I got on here. So it's really encouraging what you do, and I greatly enjoy your classes. And I wanted to wish all the best to Venkat Prabhu for his spiritual life. You know, that's very nice.
We're very excited. We're very excited about tomorrow night.
initiation.
It's a big event for us, and this is a special event, and it's a demonstration of the principles that Prabhupada expounded while he was personally present with us, and we're following them according to his direction. So congratulations to Vinod and his wife, and to Bhakta Michael in Montreal, who is also extremely sincere and ready to initiate, to begin with intent his devotional service back home, back to Godhead. So we want to thank everyone today. There has been a great amount of questions and chat with us today in the class, which has been very enlivening. And this is something that demonstrates that Krishna is with us. You judge an action by its results. So Prabhupada would give us that lesson. And we're expanding on the Prabhupada Disciples group page. We have 10,500 members, not like the other group that has 800 members and diminishing by the day. So we're expanding, and we're increasing our programs of distribution of books, and we're producing a magazine, which will be the Hare Krishna Society magazine. And I think everyone will be very enlivened when they see the contents and enthusiastic to use it in their preaching programs to help give people that are looking for spiritual life the proper direction, not some kind of bogus chaos that's existing now in so many different spiritual groups. So thank you again. And we look forward tomorrow for your attendance at the Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're reading from the original 1962 Bhagavatam, Bhakta Rab, and it's tremendous. It's so enlivening to be a part of these classes for all of us. And this is the mercy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So let us move to the last section of our class, which is the kirtan and the chanting from 1966 with Prabhupada playing the bongo drums and the devotees clunking along with the cartels. All glories to the Sankirtan movement.
Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama.
And lastly, let us offer our humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord Aprakrita in Montreal.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Ça va bien, Praketa?